All signs point to a shocking St. Louis Blues trade as NHL insider Elliot Freeman has linked the St. Louis Blues to Bowen Byram, but going as far as putting in a fan favorite in the trade talks. We're going to break down everything Elliot Freeman said. This report coming out that looks like a possible package for Bowen Byram and so much more later on this episode. Before we get into all that, we just want to give a huge shout out. We just launched Blues Digest today. We've seen the comments. You guys are loving the Blues news. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you haven't checked it out, go check out Blues Digest. Me and Darius are going to be on exclusively talking about St. Louis Blues. So if you want to keep up to date on everything around your Blues, there's no better place than Blues Digest. But with that, Darius, let's just get straight into this video where we did one today. We spoke on Darren Dreger, linking them to Bowen Byram along with a couple other teams. But we got breaking news from Elliot Freeman going as far as saying if the St. Louis Blues are in on Bowen Byram, you could see them talking about Jordan Kyrou and or a defenseman. Now, before we get into a lot of this, the possible defenseman, what is your initial thoughts on this as we're seeing even more reports coming out and it seems like the interest is getting heavier?
Well, first of all, thank you, Blues fans. Your support has been unbelievable on this channel. We are migrating slowly all of our Blues content over to Blues Digest. So make sure you go subscribe there. Almost 200 subscribers already in one day. Support has been unbelievable. But to get back to Bowen Byram, we touched on this a little bit earlier in another video, and it's very interesting. It seems like there is smoke, and where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and there's a lot of moves being made right now. We just saw Noah Dobson officially traded as well, and the Blues were in on that. So clearly they're trying to make some moves on the back end. Now, it's pretty interesting when you see that Elliot Friedman is saying that it's going to be a defenseman and, maybe Jordan Kyrou as well, which is pretty crazy. And it seems like, a lot of people don't want to trade Jordan Kyrou. And I feel like ultimately it may not happen. Like Jordan Kyrou will probably, odds are, stay with the St. Louis Blues past July 1st. But if you're going to move him, if you want value for him, I don't know what Doug Armstrong's thinking exactly, but if you want value for him, it's got to be in the next 4 days. You have to make a trade soon. So it might happen this weekend. And clearly not everyone's in the same room like past NHL drafts. This one's a little weird. And it seems like they're going to go back to the regular format next season. But teams, GMs, they're going to be active tonight. And it seems like there's a lot of movement on the back end for the Blues. And could it be Justin Falk on the way out? We're going to look into some projected contracts for Bo Byram in a second, but it would be, almost the exact same cap hit. So you would have the exact same salary cap projection outlook and a probably, definitely a younger decor, but maybe a better decor as well. And a guy who, yes, is a left shot, but can play the right side, has proven that he can play on the right side. So things are getting pretty interesting here on draft weekend. And I wouldn't put it past the Blues to make a pretty big trade. And we know that the first round pick could actually be in play as well. I think ultimately they'll probably make the pick, but it's going to be crazy.
Because looking at the Sabres as well, as you can see, I popped it up early, but they are looking at defensemen on this roster. We've seen from Darren Dreger that they've been linked to guys like Nick Hague from the Vegas Golden Knights. So if they're going in the direction, we know they want to get a culture change in Buffalo. We know the Blues want to continue to compete, but also make this a bit of a younger team, which we're already seeing them transition to with Snuggerud and so many more players. But right now, if they're actively looking to add, that's where the Blues have the perfect opportunity. You have Falk, Leddy. These guys are extendable, in my opinion. Yes, they've played big parts. Yes, some of them kind of faltered a bit in the playoffs last year. But going into the next couple of seasons, Broberg is going to be a huge piece. We've seen Fowler step up, looking like the best acquisition in years for the St. Louis Blues. Parayko is another name. If you build out this top four with Bowen Byram, you move on from Falk or Leddy. I think you're getting into a really good realm of you have a good decor that can compete at the very moment, but you also have a future top pairing of Broberg and Byram or a 1 and 2 left side shot. What is your thoughts on just moving out on a veteran? You bring in a younger piece, but I think it pushes the Blues in the right direction, Darius.
I think that's exactly it. Your decor is getting older. We've talked about it as well in previous videos that, Fowler and Parayko going into next season, that's a great first pairing. We know that, but they're getting older. Justin Falk is getting older. Maybe you want to start moving on from, Justin Falk specifically. And if you have Bo Byram on the right there with Broberg, that's a pretty good, that's a quick puck moving pair. Like that is a good defense core already. And then Nick Leddy, maybe you move off of him. You can keep him as well. Like, he played some serviceable minutes. Of course, he wasn't bad at all. I'm a big fan of Tyler Tucker back there as well. I think he's going to continue to progress and develop into a pretty solid NHLer as well. So you got to start looking towards the future a little bit. And when you look at, possibly moving off of Jordan Kyrou in this trade, you have guys like Snuggerud that we've been talking about that could possibly replace him in terms of point production. Jordan Kyrou right now looks like a 70 to 80 point player, right? Like maybe a point a game player every season. So a guy like Snuggerud, and I've seen you guys in the comments, suggest that as well, that maybe he could be a replacement, coming up shortly. And obviously they have some more players coming up that will make a difference as well, that are in the AHL or, draft picks they've made in recent years, and they have a first round pick this year. So I feel like you can eventually replace that point production, but also freeing up some of that cap, at least 1 million, maybe $2 million, depending on what Bo Byram would get. You can make another move, right? So, and you have some salary cap space. We know that Krug is going on LTIR, all of these things. So could be pretty interesting adding Bo Byram. I feel like he would fit in very nicely on this defense core, and you're getting younger, which ultimately you're going to have to do at some point, looking at the current outlook of the defense.
Because when you're looking at this cap space, getting younger is very good. You have about 11 million with Krug going on the LTIR, but going in and signing Byram, you're getting a longer contract. Yes, you have Falk, you have Leddy that have shown that they can play, but you get younger, a player that I think can develop into even more than what we expect. In our last video, go check that out too. We were even going as far as saying that when Bowen Byram played on the Colorado Avalanche, he was top 7 in minutes when they won a Stanley Cup. At 20 years old, Byram is in a bad situation in Buffalo. Not the best defensive team. Good offensively, but I do think he has a lot more to give. And just going into it, we do know he has been linked. Jordan Kyrou is a name that's been thrown around. From Andy Strickland, you can read through this, you saying that Jordan doesn't seem like he's being shopped. So at the end of the day, it does feel like a defenseman makes the most sense. You can move on from pick 19. You can move on from Leddy or Falk. You don't have the top 6, and you don't have to ruin any of this forward group. But looking at Kyrou, I would like to keep him over moving Falk, or I would like to move Falk over keeping Kyrou. But I do think if you can keep this forward group, if you can get Byram for the 19th, Falk or Leddy, plus maybe a B-level prospect, in my eyes, this pushes the future so much farther ahead for this team, and I would not be shocked if they're in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2 years, Darius.
Yeah, and you make a good point there in terms of, we broke down a quote from Doug Armstrong earlier that he said that he does not want to trade the 19th overall pick for a UFA, but I wonder if he would do it for an RFA, right? Like that could make a little more sense. At least you have team control. So I wonder if that's an option. But if you look at the Buffalo Sabres, especially with the trade they just made for JJ Peterka, sending him to Utah, it doesn't seem like they really want futures or too many futures. Maybe you could attach that and something else like Leddy or something, make it a little bit of a bigger trade. But I do wonder about that if you do attach the first round pick there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But you know what? We've been talking about it a lot. This decor, it's good. If you went into the season with it, you'd probably find success. You'd probably make the playoffs again. This is a good team. But you can get younger. You can get a little bit better. And, by getting younger, you don't have to worry about these things in the next coming years.
But Blues fans, what is your thoughts on all? There's so many rumors coming around. It seems like every Byram video we post, there's even more updates. If you want to stay up to date on all of this, keep staying when watching Hat Trick HQ. But also, we're moving everything over to Blues Digest, where we're going to exclusively talk about the Blues. You're not going to want to miss it. We're probably at 200 subscribers by now. We want to give a huge shout out to you guys. This is going to be a hectic offseason. In the next year, we are not stopping, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, my co-host, Darius. Make sure to go down and leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another video here and on Blues, so check both out. But that'd be it for this episode, and take care.